We have to organize. That's the bottom line.
In October this year, the Free Press reported on an open seminar for 35,000 members of the United Teachers Los Angeles Union, the second largest teachers union in the United States, devoted to teaching teachers how to deceive parents about indoctrinating their children. This wasn't general or vague. They literally broke down methods of maintaining plausible deniability about their intent to transport busloads of schoolchildren to anti-Israel protests during the school day. Protests like these.
Hey, hey, ho, ho! Zionism has got to go! Kids for Palestine! Kids for Palestine! From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free!
For some perspective, those 35,000 teachers oversee 565,000 children from the ages of 5. Even worse than this deception and abdication of professional ethics, the children being manipulated are exposed to extremists who aren't even teachers.
I have members of our organization who are not LAUSD employees. They take those students. And I just happen to be at the same place at the same time with them. It's like if tomorrow I go to church and some of my students are at the church. Oh, wow, hey, how you doing? We just happen to be at the same place at the same time. And look, we just happen to be at a pro-Palestine action. Same place, same time.
You might be asking yourself, what business is it of teachers to covertly coerce schoolchildren into participating in hateful protests about a conflict halfway around the world? Shockingly, this incident is not isolated. United Teachers Los Angeles are just one of a host of institutions and activist organizations indoctrinating students into mouthing slogans of Islamic terrorist regimes. This dovetails with a broader effort to manipulate young people of all ages into a radical belief system across a range of subjects, many of which have been elevated to the forefront of the culture wars over the last few years. It's all of a piece. Radicals who deliberately wish to jettison Western ideals and liberal democracy have merely found their cause du jour, and it just so happens to emulate Hamas's talking points. Take, for instance, this lesson distributed to 4,500 teachers in the Portland Association of Teachers. 75 years ago, a lot of decision makers around the world decided to take away Palestinian land to make a country called Israel. Israel would be a country where rules were mostly fair for Jewish people with white skin. There's a big word for when indigenous land gets taken away to make a country. That's called settler colonialism. If this reductive and ahistorical crash course in the 5,000-year history of Israel sounds like it is aimed at 5-year-olds, that's because it is aimed at 5-year-olds, and the syllabus material on this matter doesn't change much throughout high school and university. Almost seems intentionally bent on deception, doesn't it? These causes intersect in ways both bizarre and illogical. The National Post reports on a school trip in Canada with children as young as 8 years old meant to educate students on issues facing Indigenous Canadians. It quickly degraded into a protest with students shouting, "From Turtle Island to Palestine, occupation is a crime." This prompted City Councillor James Pasternak to state the obvious. Our city needs the growing talent that comes out of our school system and not brainwashed and indoctrinated children who have been taught conspiracy theories and hateful tropes. So, are these series of incidents and overlaps mere coincidence, or part of a larger scheme to indoctrinate your kids with radical ideas? However you feel about the Middle East and all its complexity, shouldn't parents and educators agree that the young minds of children are not the place to wage a war of propaganda? And it bears asking, what do we think of the motives of the people who would do such a thing, and who is funding them? The Teach Palestine project, which frames Zionism as a colonialist movement, is financially supported by Middle East Children's Alliance, which is reported to be tied to the Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine, a US-designated terrorist organization. The Arab Culture Arts program is funded by the Qatar Foundation, which has donated to the Department of Education through its American subsidiary QFI. According to recent reports from the NCRI, Qatar is the largest foreign funder of universities in the US. Erasure of Israel from maps in Qatari-funded classrooms quite predictably leads to anti-Semitic behavior on college campuses in America and across the Western world.
We will turn your life into a nightmare.
We will say it again. A Middle Eastern dictatorship that is agitated for spreading radical strains of Islam in the Middle East is the largest foreign funder of American universities. Qatar is not the only country in the Arab world which wishes to erase Israel. but its form of hybrid warfare and manipulation of Western civic institutions to achieve its goals make a brilliant example of how many once revered institutions in the American education system have greedily entered a deal with the devil. Qatar has given $5.6 billion to 81 American universities since 2007, including Georgetown, Carnegie Mellon, Virginia Commonwealth, Yale, and Stanford. Harvard has received $8 million since 2020. Texas A&M has received $404 million since 2015, Northwestern $600 million, and Cornell $1.5 billion since 2015. Already proscribed terrorist organizations are being celebrated on Qatar-backed US college campuses. Harvard's president has had to resign over anti-Semitism, instances of which are around 3 times higher at universities which receive Qatari funding than those which do not. Virginia Commonwealth University School of the Arts in Qatar, Weill Cornell Medicine Qatar, Texas A&M, Carnegie Mellon, Georgetown, and Northwestern have all received grants to build campuses in Qatar, and while towing the anti-Israel line across their franchise might seem a small price to pay in exchange for a new, well-funded campus, what does it mean when these institutions produce the next generation of reporters, lawyers, lawmakers, and politicians? The economic survival of lobbyists, think tanks, media personalities, and now university presidents and education trusts depends on backing the most lucrative trending cause. Unprincipled, cash-strapped think tanks, trade unions, lobbying organizations, and PR firms will compete for the patronage of wealthy foreign governments by selling them the bright young minds of America, Canada, and the West. And the worst thing about this agenda, which runs totally contrary to civil liberties, individual freedoms, educational ethics, and the safety of our children, it's right out in the open. Enough organizations and institutions have been bought off to ensure that this doesn't have to be buried in some dark quarter. It can be outright celebrated. If Americans don't stand up to the gargantuan influx of cash being used to radicalize their children, they may find out soon enough precisely what it means to globalize the Intifada.